Welcome. As women in business, we're so busy being busy. We're juggling life and business, and we're in the hustle. And that's when we lose sight of who we really are. This podcast is here to inspire and empower you to unleash you, the one that's been hiding behind all the roles that you play. Weekly episodes will help you to find fun, energy, and flow in life, and also give you tips and tools so you can have a successful yet simple business. My guests and myself talk all things mindset, spirituality, relationships, and of course business. Live the life that you've been dreaming of. Now, let's get to the good part. Welcome to the Sharon Cliff podcast. Today's episode is the benefit of knowing what you don't want. I'll say that again, the benefit of knowing what you don't want, the emphasis on don't. Now, how this episode came about, try to do a bit of research before I started recording around, what you don't want. And there was nothing on, articles or anything about what you don't want. It was all on what you want or what you don't know. So I thought it was really interesting that I'd sort of come across this topic today, and it just really sparked the interest with me. So today's episode was born. So when I talk about the benefits of knowing what you don't want, we focus on thinking about what we do want and, dreaming and manifesting about all the things that we want. It's like when we are at home at night time and we say, what do you want for dinner? What do you want at the grocery shop? Where do you want to go on holidays? Like it's all, what do you want? And we don't talk about what we don't want. And sometimes I actually think it's more important to actually sit there and think about what we don't want rather than what we want. And so this is really a bit of a flipped conversation. So let me explain how I've come about this topic today. So I am, in Melbourne working with a corporate client. And when I went to book my travel, I was going to be at the Gold Coast on Sunday night. So I didn't want to fly out of Brisbane because I was going to be at the Gold Coast. And the airport there is only like 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes from my house, really easy drive. If I had flown out of Brisbane, I would have had to drive an hour or an hour and a bit, hour and probably 15 minutes back to Brisbane airport and then fly out of there. So what I didn't want was to have to do an extra hour travel to fly out of Brisbane airport when I could just go 15 minutes on a Monday morning and make it really simple for myself. So that was the first decision about what I didn't want. I didn't want to fly out of an airport an hour and 15 minutes away. I wanted to fly out of one 15 minutes away. The other thing that I didn't want is there was a 6 a.m. flight. I didn't want to get up really early after being out on the Sunday night. Not that it was a late night, because the show that we went to finished at 8 o'clock anyway. I didn't want to get up really early on a Monday morning to make a 6 o'clock flight. So, being at the airport at 5, getting up at 4, leaving at 4:30, I did not want to do that. So I booked the 8:50 flight. I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. I didn't want to get up early and have to travel. The other thing that I didn't want was to find myself in a position on a Friday afternoon to be flying out of an airport at 6 p.m. on a Friday, have my flight delayed 2 hours like it was 2 weeks ago, and then get my flight cancelled. So at 8:45 on a Friday night, I'm sitting in another state trying to book flights and accommodation and trying to catch Ubers, and it was just a travel mess. So when I booked my return flight home for this Friday, when I go back to Brisbane, I booked my flight for 4 o'clock, because then if something happens, I've got a number of flights that I could change to after that, or I've got enough time to actually be able to rejig my travel plan so that it being at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday and me being in not so much in panic mode, because I just went straight into, okay, what have I got to do? But I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to put myself in a position on a Friday afternoon late, traveling out when it's going to be busy airport, traveling home on a Friday night, and then have, going to airport chaos if something happens. So I booked a 4 o'clock flight. That was me knowing the difference between what I didn't want versus what I wanted. So I didn't want to have to put myself through that again on a Friday night. Another example, I generally work from home. I go and see clients when I need to. Last year I traveled a lot, working on different projects and working with different corporate clients, where I did 45 flights for work last year. So I know quite a bit about travel. There's also a podcast episode all around my travel tips. So go and have a look at that on YouTube or listen to it on podcast. What I found myself doing today is that, because as I said, I generally work from home and I'm quite flexible with my hours, how I work, when I work, with work I do, which is amazing because that's what I want. I want that freedom-based lifestyle. I don't want to be stuck in office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And so it's Wednesday when I'm recording this. So for the last 3 days, I have been stuck in an office, restricted in an office environment, which, that sort of 9 to 5. I haven't been in that environment for years. And so I'm sitting there going, I do not want this. I do not want to be in an office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And thank goodness that is not my normal life. But it sort of got me thinking today, this is what I don't want. I don't want to be doing a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday office job. It's not me. So then I started to think about the different things that I don't want. Another prime example, I bought a new car in February. Well, it wasn't new, it was secondhand. And we ummed and ahed about it because it's an Audi TT, so it's a bit of a different sort of shape. It's a coupe shape, but it's quite an unusual coupe shape. And we sort of ummed and ahed, and anyway, we sort of ended up, loving the car, and we went to Sydney and bought and drove it back to Brisbane. Anyway, so I've had this car since February, and just the last few months of driving it. On last week, we put it up for sale a few weeks ago, and my husband said to me last week, he goes, okay, you've got this car for sale, like really, really, why do you want to sell it? And I just said, I don't want it. I don't like the coupe shape. I don't like reversing it. I don't like parking it. I really don't feel comfortable driving it. And I don't want that type of car. And he's like, okay. And I said, I want to go back to a hatch. So I knew what I always talked about the things that I wanted in a car, but now it was me talking about the things that I don't want. I don't like the fact that it has the back window with no wiper, because the angle of it, you can never see anything out of it. So, I don't want the reversing camera right on the bottom of the car because you can't see a thing. I like it in a normal position. So I started thinking about all the things that I don't like about the car. So then it helps me when I do sell it, to be in a position where I know there are the things I don't like. So there are the things that I make sure I don't get on the next car. And the same thing goes with your home. You think about all the things that, you like in a home when you go and look and you think, I like this, and I want to have a pool, or I want to have a big kitchen. You talk about the things that you do like. What I've been thinking about lately, because we've moved a few times, and we're at the moment where we do go between Brisbane and Gold Coast, and it's just starting, and we've got a development happening where we're building a couple of houses, and I just really started to think about all the things that I don't like. Like one of the houses that we live in at the moment doesn't have a garage. I don't like that. I don't like not having a garage. I don't like having not having direct access from the garage into the house. Some of the other things I don't like is, at the moment, the house that we're living in Brisbane, we can't have our fridge connected to water. It's sitting in the laundry, and we're just so cramped. And I don't like not being able to just know that I've got fresh, cold water on tap. I mean, yes, okay, you have it at your tap, but you know what I mean? Like having a fridge that's plumbed in and having to think about filling the ice trays. I don't like that. We're in that house only has one bathroom. I don't like that, because there is, at the moment, 5 of us living there, and I don't like the cramped space. So just think about the things that you don't like, rather than always thinking about the things that you do like. And yet I'm always a positive person, thinking about, always being positive and thinking about what you want and what you like. And then when the same sort of thing comes into effect too when you're thinking about friends. So that if you go out with a friend and they always get really drunk and they're embarrassed and they do silly things and they're just not the quite vibe, well, if you don't like that, then you don't hang around with them. The same thing is if you are with a friend and they just are really angry all the time, or you go out with someone and they're really sad all the time, and you don't like that, then know that you don't like that, and you don't have to put up with that, and don't surround yourself with people like that. if you know that, you're in a group of friends and they like to do something that you don't like, then recognize that. They might like to go out clubbing. You don't like that. Then recognize that. I don't want to do that. I don't like that. So you don't need to. You don't have to. So with these things where I'm saying about, the benefits of knowing what you don't like, identify them. Make sure that, you say to yourself that you don't like them, or whether you need to write it down to know that you don't like them, so that you ingrain that, so that you know that if you don't like something, then don't do it, or don't have it in your life, or change things. And use the things where we say, you don't like something or you don't want something. Use that for when you do the opposite in that situation. So like for me, all the things that I don't like about my car and the things that I don't want, when I do go to buy a new car, I'll think about those as well, because you get so wrapped up. I guess this is the other flip side of this. You get so wrapped up with the fun stuff and the shiny stuff and all the good things, that you also don't think about the things that you don't want. So for instance, with a car, I really want a sunroof, or I want this color, or I want to make sure it's got a camera. I want to make sure it's got like connectivity to be able to play my music through the car, like Apple CarPlay, whatever it is. You think about all the things you do want, and you get so wrapped up in that, and you get caught in the shininess of it, and you forget about the things that you don't want specifically. So, and then the same with, when you go to buy a house, you think, I want this and I want this and I want this. But it's also important to remember the things that you don't want, because sometimes it could be something that's on your don't want list that could actually sway your decision. So like with the car, for instance, there was a number of things that I didn't want. I don't want a car that doesn't have a back wiper if it's that sort of shape, because I can't see anything at the back. I don't like cars that don't have sunroofs, because I love the fresh air. I hate the aircon, and I just love having the wind come over my head rather than having my window down and having everything, my hair flapping around everywhere. There's certain things with houses that I don't like. And so when it comes to picking, when you go and have a look at, new cars or new houses, it's you get so caught up in the things that you want and that you like. You've also got to think about the things that you don't want. So hopefully this is making sense. So just a quick, episode today to go through the benefits of knowing what you don't want, because we don't often think about that perspective. We don't flip it. And I'm always all for flipping for the positive and flipping in that sense. But I just wanted to flip it the other way for a change and say, there really is benefit in knowing what you don't want, for knowing, the things that you're not going to settle for as well. Not so much settle, but just knowing what you don't want. I know that I don't want that type of car, or I don't want to live in that type of house that has those things or that doesn't have elements. I don't want to work in an office environment. I don't want to be in an office 9 to 5. I don't want to be in an office Monday to Friday. It's not me. So knowing that that's what I don't want when I go and look at clients that I'm working with, and if they say, as part of the coaching program or part of the project that you're working on with us, we need you to be in our office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, I know that I don't want that. So instead of me umming and ahhing about whether I'll work with that client or not, it'd be straight away, it'd be like, I don't want to do that. So it's a no. It makes that decision-making a lot easier as well. So I would love to know, have you got a list of things that you don't want? And have you ever thought about that? Shoot me through a DM on socials and let me know. And if you found this episode interesting, make sure you leave a review and share it with someone. If you know someone that always knows what they want but doesn't know what they don't want, share this with them. Until next time, that's it from me. Before you press stop, thanks for listening to today's episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, do the 3 S's. Subscribe so you never miss an episode each Thursday. Shout out to your community so they can be inspired and empowered. And share. Share with me your aha moments and your takeaways. By doing this, it helps this podcast to inspire and impact more women globally so they can have a fulfilling life and business. I would love for you to connect with me on Instagram, The Sharon Cliff. And if you want to know more about me or how you can work with me, head to my website, sharoncliff.com.au. See you next time.